Good afternoon. I am reminded that I should ask that phones be silenced if they haven't been already. Appreciate that. This is Poetry and Perspectives, Potpourri. And I suppose including potpourri in the title actually is just my excuse for being mixed up. But poetry is involved as well as prose, and be assured, I will travel with an ultimate focus. Okay. Yet this hour is, as it should be, about audience. It's about you. Okay? Let me begin with asking us to think about our usual lines of eyesight. Normally straight on, side to side, and a lot of looking down. Down at what our hands are doing, down to go for the food on our plate, down to tend our pets, down to screens and keyboards. And wisely, as a senior group, look down to mind our moving footsteps. The down lines of sight go on and on. In comparison, how often do we pause, tip our heads back, and raise our eyes to look up? So much of earthbound human focus is directed down. We lie down, sit down, calm down, and try to stay down to earth. Down to earth. Well, stay with me here, where grass layers over bare ground, leaves over grass, snow layers atop leaves, weeds rising, creeping at edges, then wind strewing layers of ashes all over. And as an adjunct to down, we look in our minds back. Look back at years layered over years. Memories layered over memories. I digress to a favorite quote from Thornton Wilder's play, Our Town. The stage manager says, quote, "Every time you get near the human race, there's layers and layers of nonsense." History reveals the larger layers of time. Trend on top of trend, political system on top of another, a religion overlaying a previous one, new roads, layer over old roads, civilizations layered over civilizations. That's why archaeologists dig down, persist in digging down, painstakingly with shovels and probes and brushes, blowing off the dust to find what is now so deep, so forgotten, and what it all might reveal. I digress again momentarily to reference Irish poet and Nobel laureate Seamus Heaney at his desk, who envisioned his father digging with his spade down in the ground for years in potato fields, and a grandfather before him at long, hard spading work cutting peat. In his poem, Digging, Haney wrote, quote, "I have no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it." An apt poetic thought that I like and occasionally hope to share in. But back to earth slayers and archaeologists, etc., I wonder if our personal digging should now be increasingly up, especially now that, thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope, discoveries about the cosmos, much evidence from up, has been opened wide by new scientific theory, observation, and confirmation. It makes me want to stand still and rather than look down, tip my head back and look up to the sky to stretch my mind far, far, far into the ever-expanding universe, seeking a cosmic perspective. So I offer you poetry to start in the spirit of up. Come along. The first, it's one of mine, is titled Winter, 3:30 a.m. Dark, still, in the quiet I awaken. To my senses, two intrusions come. A train whistle, far off. A call I feel as parallel to the earth I'm on. That is, if one perceives connection as below the mattress, below the carpet, below the flooring, below the concrete, and finally to the red-orange soil that the railroad tracks also touch, and carry the train far, far away until it sounds so far I cannot more perceive. The other intrusion, a cosmic call. The sun's light cast full upon the moon that then beams down, insistently filtering through the slats of the blinds designed to shut it out. I rise and pull the cords to set it free upon me. Raise my eyes to meet the power, and held helplessly in place I stand, sleep abandoned, striving many, many minutes to perceive the endless farness past the moon into the snowy dome of stars. That moon, a cosmic train whistle, a summons to upstretch perspective, traveling on tracks beyond, among the galaxies, and gone. Stay looking up with Billy Collins, twice our U.S. Poet Laureate, whose poems I delight to include. Collins precedes this with a quote from the notebooks of Robert Frost, who said, quote, "I have envied the 4-moon planet." Question is, what was Frost thinking? But Collins went galactic with it. A Stretch Up. This is titled Four Moon Planet by Billy Collins. Maybe Frost was thinking of the song What a Little Moonlight Can Do, and became curious about what a lot of moonlight might be capable of. But wouldn't this be too much of a good thing? And what if you couldn't tell them apart? And they always rose together like pale quadruplets entering a living room. Yes, there would be enough light to read a book or write a letter at midnight, and if you drank enough tequila, you might see 8 of them roving brightly about. But think of the 2 lovers on a beach, his arm around her bare shoulder, thrilled at how close they were feeling tonight, while he gazed at one moon and she another. There you are. I followed deliberately. I was trying to imitate Billy Collins' style with one of mine, and this is also a stretching up. It's called Night Flight. In the dark I lie, heavy with wakefulness on the Posturepedic, because a worry scurries back and forth behind my eyelids. Let it out, I shout without a sound so as not to wake the dog. Thrust open my eyes, hoping for its escape through those portals before it does more damage. And I stare a while out the big window at a starry sky that inches its way back of the tall pines. If only I could slide up high on one of those pine poles now, I'd step off onto the first star passing by and curl up inside it for the night. Even if I cared to glance back down, I would probably be too far away to see the dog chasing the worry, now hiding inside one of my shoes beside the bed. Then I bring you to one more personal uplift here in poetry, even though you may have read it privately in the print in the coffee room. Language lives fully when it is heard. As I have said, the lines may brim with poets' words of choice, but poem it is not without a voice. This is A Walk in the Village, July at Dawn. This one subjected to rhyme and rhythm. The sun was yet to fully beam. The air held cool. I skipped the gym, I skipped the pool, and twice I strolled around the pond and wondered where the ducks had gone. But overhead, an unseen bird sang piccolo to bullfrogs belching tuba notes below. The fountain hummed through falling water rings as if an undertone of bows on strings. I turned my eyes to billowing clouds up high and sensed the universe beyond blue sky. Then deeply did I breathe the cosmos in, yet on my patch of planet Earth, watched day begin. And I'm now going to draw on prose. We'll let poetry go for a while. to include an experience in perspective that many of us here have had. Hands, if you have cruised Alaska's Inside Passage. Yes. Okay, yeah. I excerpt from my longer article, even though my title was Inside and Up Close, it was an uplifting effect that prevailed. And I wrote, it was my good fortune to have one of the 3 top deck cabins of the ship called the Baranoff Dream, small ship holding only 49 passengers. Cruising the Inside Passage, I searched for words to capture in memory what I saw, for the snow-covered mountains ahead and on each side were endless. At eye level, we sighted humpback whales, eagles, seals, a bear on the shore, otters playing in the cove. But hour by hour, day by day, we glided in view of high, snow-blanketed peaks, at once majestic and forbidding, numbed and muscled, sculptured monuments to time. Once, on a skiff ride off ship, brought us to a rare rocky shore, so difficult to tread that even carefully looking down, we would almost wish for cobblestones. Yet here a beautiful wide waterfall rolled and rushed from above, flanked by the thickest ever stands of tall trees, down to the channel. We climbed up, steep, and parallel to the powerful falls, awed by downward views along the way, and we awed by our intense efforts to keep climbing. At journey's end, I stood on the deck, pondering Alaska, inside and up close, as well as vast and up, ever up, to the sky. I gazed far and high above the sunlit, snowy peaks, deep breathing in the universe beyond. Playing through my mind as accompaniment came the final strains of Puccini's Nessun Dorma, as if from some distant cosmic orchestra, in crescendo, in tension, and in triumph, just as this land, Alaska, soared in its intensities. That's our ship. Inside Passage. So please stay in the traveling mode, where something always may take hold of our perspective and leave us awed. I'm going to take us to Ireland, especially to the land of William Butler Yeats. one of Ireland's greatest poetic voices. This is my own short account of an uplifting reflection and perspective. I called this To Travelers All. Even considering the breathtaking joy of Ireland's shoreline vistas, its green and greener hills, the echoing flutes and hearty pub songs, historic and mysterious rings and ruins, or the almost tangible depth of Irish spirit, what essence of experience in Ireland will stand out in my memory? It is the writers' voices, especially the poets. A key voice for me has long been W.B. Yeats. Many lines of Yeats' poetry keep dedicated residence in my mind. In my first golfing experience to Ireland, some 2 decades prior, I recall being thrilled to look up as I played a course called Ross's Point, the links course in County Sligo. And I looked up at one point before I hit my shot. And doggone, I was looking at a famous mountain silhouette that was familiarly referenced by W.B. Yeats. The mountain is called Ben Bulben. And then I relished a visit to see the Lake Isle of Innisfree and Yeats Tower and his grave at Drumcliff. In my third trip to Ireland, I was excited and anxious to return to the Drumcliff churchyard, to stand in contemplation again before his imperative from the grave. It reads, "Cast a cold eye on life, on death. Horsemen, pass by." With due respect to the volume of analysis on this passage, my thoughts tend this way. I understand the horseman as any traveler through life. In Yeats' time, how did they travel? Horseback. Mounted on a horse. Today, they'd be carried by wheels or other horsepower. The traveler comes along with his day's purpose, but at the gravesite he is paused, admonished by these few stone-cut words. His focus is refocused to take a keen, dispassionate look at life, at death, and once done, to pass by, carrying on his life's ride and his thoughts. Whoever is standing before the Drumcliff gravestone is the person Yeats speaks to. He is a horseman from now, bringing who he is and what is in his mind only up to now. For me, this gravesite cold eye reflection stirred different responses than it did 20 years previously. When one returns to famous lines of poetry, bringing a longer life, new understandings are often born. A tribute to the poet. That night, I woke up and looked through the hotel window at one bright, sparkling star. And then another came along, a similar white light, but blinking as it moved along. Yes, an airplane passing over Yates' country. I thrilled to quickly think, a horseman. And in that moment, I wished I could beam up Yates' words to the pilot. So I spoke aloud. Horseman, pass by. Well, I'm going to take us a little farther up now, beyond the mountains. Coming back to choose Billy Collins, and a poem from his newest collection titled Emily Dickinson in Space. Yeah, that's what I did when I but here it is. Emily Dickinson in Space. When we were very young, we heard an Emily Dickinson poem being recited by our teacher, and we looked around the classroom at one another. Later, I graduated to reading one of her poems every morning before I rose from my bed with the dawn. Once in a famous library, I was allowed to hold a letter she'd written. And when no one was looking, I shook it a little, the way it might have trembled in her hand. And then it began to tremble in mine. Another time, and this is harder to believe, before giving a talk about her at a university in Rome, Collins says, I was introduced by an Italian astronaut who spoke not from the podium, but from the orbiting space station, saying nice things about me as he floated on a big screen on a holiday from gravity. Behind him, an oval window was radiant with the sun's spotless light. Then he read one of Emily's poems from a slip of paper in his hand. She wrote, "There is a solitude of space, a solitude of sea, a solitude of death, finite infinity." And when he waved goodbye, I waved back like a schoolboy from the front row of the auditorium. From the auditorium where I was in Trastevere, near the flowing Tiber. Then I stood up and gave my earthling talk. Afterward, a woman told me the astronaut was none other than Paolo Nespoli, who had spent an entire year in space. Imagine that, I said to myself, looking up at the evening sky. Her little poem still circling the globe at 17,000 miles an hour. Hands down the fastest poem in history if such records were kept. Passing over everything below once every 93 minutes, including the Vatican and the Colosseum, not to mention the leafy canopy of Amherst, Massachusetts, and her small grave and headstone in the West Cemetery behind an iron fence just down an unpaved road. Well, I take us farther up now, beyond mountains, and coming back to choose Billy Collins and a poem from his newest collection called Emily Dickinson in Space. You know what? Hmm. Hang on. I lost my place. I'm going to excerpt from. Hang on, Whippy. A We're good. Okay, here we go. Um, Neil deGrasse Tyson is where we're going next. There he is. Our highly respected American astrophysicist and educator, with his fascinating and widely accessible insights, he continues to promote a scientific and philosophical cosmic perspective. He's authored in numerous books and recent research articles, and he is certainly an engaging and effective teacher. Of his 18 books, I've read 3: Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. It's just little, but powerful. Letters from an Astrophysicist, and Starry Messenger, a cosmic perspective. He's served as director of the Hayden Planetarium since 1996. And I was excited to hear him speak some years back at Elon. You may recall his series Cosmos, A Space-Time Odyssey. And I see he's touring this year, speaking in Durham and in Greensboro in November. I imagine that's a little hard to get close to. But from his writings, I offer this passage about perspective from Starry Messenger. He writes, "To gain insight, let's rewind 30,000 years and eavesdrop on our ancestral cave dwellers. Those among them with the urge to explore decide to consult the elders, saying, 'We want to see what's beyond the cave door.' The elders are wise. They caucus among themselves, weighing what they think are the risks and rewards, and reply, 'No, no. We must first solve the problems of the caves before anyone ventures beyond.'" And Tyson continues saying, "A cosmic perspective reminds you that Earth is a moat, isolated in a rich, vast universe. Is the cave any different from Earth itself? Perspective lurks beyond the cave door." Tyson adds that, quote, "The noted writer T.S. Eliot once mused," and Eliot writes, "We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring, will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Tyson declares that's as close an analog to the cosmic perspective that has ever been penned by a poet. And for further perspective, he writes, you also need measurement, moxie, in time and space. His favorite analogy is this, quote, if the gridiron of a football field were a timeline of the universe, with the Big Bang at one end and this moment at the other, then all of human recorded history would span the thickness of a blade of grass in the end zone. Don't you love it? Tyson asks, you want a sweeping view of the past? Our unfolding cosmic perspective takes you there. Light takes time to reach Earth's observatories from the depths of space. And so you see objects and phenomena not as they are, but as they once were. Almost back to the beginning of time itself. With that horizon of reckoning, cosmic evolution unfolds continuously in full view. And now we have the James Webb Space Telescope to help us with this perspective. This is called the Colors of the Universe. James Webb Telescope does not work alone. Many other telescopes are studying the sky with it. And by combining their data, astronomers can learn as much as possible about different celestial bodies. This is one of the most detailed images of the universe. Combining data from the visible and the infrared by James Webb Telescope and the Hubble Telescope. This photo shows a structure located at a distance of 4.3 billion light years from Earth and represents a pair of galaxy clusters in the process of colliding with each other. Colors correspond to different wavelengths of light. The galaxies in blue are relatively close to us and are actively giving birth to new luminaries, which are best seen in the visible range in which Hubble takes pictures. Now, the red-colored galaxies tend to be farther away and dustier, best seen in the infrared, which is the range best imaged by the James Webb Space Telescope. And also for perspective, try to embrace the concept of 100 billion, even to a trillion stars per galaxy. And an estimate of 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. 10 times what was previously thought. Wrap any human mind around that. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, quote, the cosmic perspective opens our eyes to the universe not as a benevolent cradle designed to nurture life, but as a cold, lonely, hazardous place. Carl Sagan echoes, quote, the universe seems neither benign nor hostile, merely indifferent. And yet Tyson says it's not solely the province of the scientist. The cosmic perspective belongs to everyone. It's a little blurry, but This is the anatomy of an exploding star. It shows Cassiopeia A just 11,000 light years from Earth. One of the youngest supernova remnants in the Milky Way. It's believed that the light from its outburst should have reached Earth about 340 years ago. But no one on Earth noticed, most likely because of the dense dust clouds surrounding the dead star. But the James Webb Telescope can penetrate that dust's veil, revealing many previously unknown structures in the supernova remnant. And just for a moment, I pull our perspective closer to Earth to note that in Starry Messenger, this book, lost my place. In Starry Messenger, Tyson includes a section entitled Law and Order, the Foundation of Civilization, whether we like it or not. He asks, which nation's laws govern one patch of the planet's surface relative to another? Space law remains a bit of the Wild West relative to established doctrines on Earth. Space law is a frontier of legal philosophy. Now, this is the telescope's portrait of the gas giant, the Jupiter, and shows streaks in its atmosphere. The famous Great Red Spot, the Aurora Borealis, and even dust rings too faint to be seen in visible images. It may have been Jupiter's 4 moons that Robert Frost and Billy Collins were thinking of. These 4 moons were discovered by Galileo in 1610. I'm going to back up a little bit to to I should have said here that the Jupiter one, and if I go back to Earth, and the previous one, which nation's laws govern one patch of a planet's surface relative to another? Space law remains a bit of the Wild West. Relative to established doctrines on Earth, it's a real frontier of legal philosophy. And I have to tell you that I have a young relative whom I have never met. He's about age 37, son of my first cousin, who put aside a successful career and applied and was accepted at Georgetown, came away with a law degree in space law. Yeah. And now he works for a DC law firm where he is engaged with NASA. Try that out. But in all this is the important concept or feeling of awe. The feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your understanding of the world, certainly mine. Awe can happen with a beautiful song or a touching story, something that produces goosebumps. Even small amounts of wonder can remind us that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So too can the images from the James Webb Telescope, which invite our continual visual and conceptual stretch up, up, always up. This is Tarantula Nebula. It's only 161,000 light years away. Um, got me. It's the most active starburst region with tens of thousands of young stars never before seen, previously shrouded in cosmic dust, which James Webb telescope can now see through. And this is named Tarantula Nebula because it resembles a burrowing tarantula's home. Now, I wouldn't know. But the image is 346 light years across. Across. The most active region sparkles with massive young stars appearing pale blue. I mean, this just blows my mind. Now, this one I selected for awe. Ring Nebula. This one is only 2,300 light years from Earth. It's a well-known example of what's called planetary nebulae, but such objects have nothing to do with planets. They form at the moment of death of red giants when they shed the outer layers of their atmosphere. In the future, a similar fate awaits our sun, it says. James Webb Space Telescope image shows details of this peculiar funeral shroud surrounding a dying star. We're going to back up now to about 2014 in our own system of time, okay? With the last photo from Voyager 1 and the famous passage by Carl Sagan. And so there's an introduction by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And we'll see if we can get it. Oh, what? Try to follow the dot. Tyson adds for perspective, quote, learning the age of Earth or about the life of the stars, etc., what difference does it make? How big a universe are you willing to live in? Some of us like it small. He says, when I take all this into my heart and mind, I'm uplifted by it. I want to know that it is real. It matters what is true. It matters that it is an awesome reality. He says, those who see the cosmic perspective as a depressing outlook, they really need to reassess how they think about the world, because when I look up in the universe, I know I'm small, but I'm also big. I'm big because I'm connected to the universe, and the universe is connected to me. As Carl Sagan reminds us, quote, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies, were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. Quote, the cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. As Tyson echoes, we are stardust. To put it all simply, Tyson writes, quote, the cosmic perspective enables us to grasp in the same thought the large and the small. I humbly reach for the cosmic perspective with a poem of mine called Departure that tries to grasp actual and scientific and cosmic perceptual details that I embraced from reading Tyson's and other astrophysics books. Imagine now that the ceiling and the roof above it have lifted. They have disappeared. We remain looking up, even though you're going to look at the screen. So, come with me. Now, slowly close and then reopen your eyelids so that unearthbound vision may begin and light may become another kind. Deeply breathe. Inhale the universe, each breath. Again. Again. Uncontain your myriad things that matter. Let them crumble all away. Be they now scatterlings upon the earth, or drain into the shore-washed sands. Look up, leave dreaming to retreat past far return. Let earthwards fall away till language fast dissolves to uselessness. Feel gravity give up to free your feet from floors, your body from a bed. Fill your mind with out of mindful fuel and lift now high and higher on, and so far gone that any siren's wail is unavailable. And thunder's left to whimper far below. Your carriage now, magnetic flow that bears you forth. Your path to sail in vastness, sans direction, where horizon lines are never. Your essence, clothed in calm abandon, wrapped in silence. Just you, a speck escaped from one blue dot. Just you, loosed into the cosmos, where your points of view, both from within and from without, emerge and merge. Just you, aware that time now shed of earth-born clocks exists by natural change and blur of mystery. Just you, beneath the canopies of galaxies, where the essence of all, of one, remains in never-endingness. I thank Michelle for her extremely capable support. I end with a comment from me and Tyson. All the best to you on Earth and in the cosmic perspective. As they say in the cosmos, keep looking up. I thank you.